Today, we're diving into a case that's both heartbreaking and shrouded in mystery. The disappearance of Elizabeth Veloz,
Hmm.
a 28-year-old mother of three from
Right.
Chicago's South Side.
Yeah.
Elizabeth was last seen leaving a bar with a man and his friends, and despite investigations by both the Chicago police and the FBI, her disappearance remains unsolved.
What strikes me about Elizabeth's case is the lack of closure for her family. They're left in this agonizing limbo, clinging to hope while grappling with the unknown.
Yeah, it's July of 1992.
Okay.
Elizabeth starts her evening with friends at Jocko's,
Mm-hmm.
a bar not far from her home.
Right.
While there, she meets a man who seems interested in her later, Elizabeth. This man and his friends decide to head to another bar, just Jim's.
This seemingly ordinary decision is the last known trace of Elizabeth before the mystery begins. They eventually return to Jocko's, but a disturbance breaks out involving the man Elizabeth left with and his friend.
While this is happening, Elizabeth stays in the car, and that's the last confirmed sighting of her. It's chilling to think that such a mundane moment could be the last piece of the puzzle we have.
Investigators believe that after that incident at Jocko's, Elizabeth and these three men drove to East Chicago's Harbor neighborhood. This is where the trail runs cold. There's speculation that Elizabeth's body may have been dumped in Lake Michigan, adding another layer of complexity to the investigation.
That lack of physical evidence must be incredibly frustrating for investigators and the family. Imagine the vastness of the lake, the difficulty of searching those depths. It feels almost like a deliberate attempt to hide any trace of what happened.
Absolutely. It creates a significant hurdle in piecing together the events of that night and finding answers. And it's important to remember that for Elizabeth's family, this isn't just a cold case. It's the absence of their daughter, their sister, their mother.
In the face of this immense uncertainty, Elizabeth's family took matters into their own hands. They transformed into a dedicated search party, distributing flyers, relentlessly pursuing leads, and even consulting a psychic.
It's a testament to their unwavering determination and love. They were willing to explore every avenue, no matter how unconventional, in the hopes of finding Elizabeth.
One can only imagine the emotional toll of this constant search, fueled by hope and haunted by the unknown. They even endured the agonizing experience of being called to the morgue to identify bodies, only to be met with disappointment each time.
The family has been vocal about their frustration with the lack of media attention compared to other cases. For instance, the Tammy Zawicki case received significant coverage during the same period. This disparity adds another layer of pain to their ordeal.
It's understandable that they would feel overlooked, especially when they see other cases receiving more attention. It raises questions about how certain disappearances capture the public's imagination and how that might influence investigative resources.
Despite the lack of answers and the emotional exhaustion, Elizabeth's family has never given up hope. They've found different ways to cope, from prayer to lighting candles, clinging to the belief that one day they'll find out what happened to their beloved Elizabeth. Their search for answers led them down many paths. One path, perhaps born out of desperation, led them to consult a psychic.
Oh, wow.
They traveled all the way to Bloomington, Illinois, based on the psychic's insights, clinging to any glimmer of hope.
The psychic's lead, like many others, unfortunately didn't pan out, but it speaks volumes about the lengths they were willing to go to for any sign of Elizabeth.
It's a stark reminder that for families facing these kinds of tragedies, every possibility, no matter how remote, becomes a lifeline. And the emotional toll doesn't just stop there.
The family has also described the harrowing experience of being called to the morgue to identify bodies. Imagine the mix of dread and hope they must have felt each time, only to be met with the crushing realization that it wasn't Elizabeth.
It's a recurring nightmare for families of the missing, the constant uncertainty, the possibility of having to face the physical reality of their loss is a heavy burden to bear.
While the family pursued every lead, the official investigations, despite the involvement of both the Chicago police and the FBI, seem to have stalled the lack of physical evidence. The possibility that Elizabeth's disappearance might have been an accident all contribute to the complexity of the case.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces, and without concrete evidence, it becomes incredibly difficult to determine the sequence of events, the motivations, the truth of what happened to Elizabeth.
We know the family believes Elizabeth may have been taken to East Chicago's Harbor neighborhood. Was there any indication of why investigators focused on that location? Was there something that pointed them in that direction, or was it purely speculation?
Unfortunately, details about the investigation haven't been publicly released. What we do know is that the accident theory was considered, but the lack of clarity surrounding this theory, what kind of accident is being implied, only adds to the mystery. Was it a car accident? Something that happened near the lake? These questions remain unanswered.
And then there's the impact on Elizabeth's children. Two of her daughters, Roseanne and Letitia, were raised in Mexico, unaware of their mother's disappearance until they returned to the United States.
For Letitia, who has no memories of her mother, it's like a gaping hole in her life, a void that can never be filled. She described it as always wondering, always searching for a mother she never knew.
And Elizabeth's son Raymond, who has autism, faces a different kind of struggle. The concept of his mother simply vanishing is difficult to grasp, adding another layer of pain to this already heartbreaking situation.
The ripple effects of Elizabeth's disappearance extend far beyond just her children. The entire Veloz family lives with the constant weight of her absence. Her niece Genoveva spoke about the heightened anxiety that permeates their lives, the need for constant reassurance, the fear that something similar might happen to someone else they love.
It's clear that the trauma of her disappearance has reshaped their lives, their relationships, their sense of security. The not knowing, the lack of closure, casts a long shadow over everything.
Yeah, it's devastating to see how deeply this unresolved loss has affected the entire Veloz family. They've been left with so many unanswered questions. It makes you think about what might have happened in those final moments, what led to Elizabeth's disappearance.
The lack of clarity surrounding the accident theory is particularly perplexing without more details. It's difficult to even begin to imagine what kind of accident could have occurred under those circumstances. And the possibility that Elizabeth's body might be in Lake Michigan, that it might never be recovered, adds another layer of tragedy to this story. It's a reminder of the vastness and power of nature, and how sometimes it can keep secrets hidden.
The Veloz family's frustration with the lack of media attention is understandable. The disparity in coverage compared to cases like Tammy Zwickie's highlights the seemingly random nature of which stories capture public interest.
It's a sobering thought that some disappearances resonate more with the media and the public, while others fade into the background. You have to wonder if that affects the resources allocated to investigations, the urgency with which they're pursued.
It's a complex issue, but what's clear is that every missing person deserves to be found. Every family deserves answers. In Elizabeth's case, the FBI is still actively involved, and they've even offered a reward for information leading to the discovery of her body.
That's a glimmer of hope, however faint. Perhaps someone out there knows something, a detail they haven't shared, a memory they've suppressed, that could finally break this case open.
Even the smallest piece of information could make a difference. It could be the key to unlocking the mystery of what happened to Elizabeth and bringing peace to her family.
Elizabeth Veloz's story is a stark reminder that even in a bustling city like Chicago, people can vanish without a trace.
Yeah.
It underscores the fragility of life and the enduring power of hope, even in the face of the unknown. If you have any information that can shed light on Elizabeth Veloz's disappearance, no matter how insignificant it may seem, please contact the FBI. Your tip could be the one that brings this family the closure they've been waiting for.